guys, it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be reviewing the books that I read that were on last year's 5-star predictions video. It's taken me quite a while to get around to filming this, and I'll explain why a little bit later. When I was looking up the 5 books that were on that video, I realised that I'd published that on the 11th of September last year, so almost a year, and yeah, I haven't talked to you about them. So what I'm going to be doing in this video is talking about my thoughts on each of the 5 books that I put on that list, and then I'm also going to be showing you 5 more books that I think I'm going to give 5 stars to. Yeah, and that'll be my new 5-star TBR. So let's jump in. The reason that this has taken me so long to film is this book here. So this is Half of the Yellow Sun by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This was the last book that I had to read on the list, and I put it on my, I want to say my July TBR, and it had been a while since I'd read one of the other 4 books on the list. So I was sort of waiting for an excuse to put it on there, and I was planning to do a buddy read of this with Harriet over at Harriet Rosie. And so I started reading it with her, and I was quite impressed with the writing style to start off with, and pretty engaged in what was going on. But as I got further and further in, it wasn't capturing my attention, and at the beginning of July I made some decisions about, right, I'm going to stop doing buddy reads for a while, and I'm also going to just dispense with my TBR basically and just read what I want to read, because I was getting into a bit of a, not a slump, but I was getting into a bit of a situation where I just wasn't enjoying reading, and as much as I could have done, it was becoming something other than my hobby, like what I do for pleasure. It was becoming something else, and I didn't want it to become that. So yeah, I said to Harriet, I'm not enjoying this, I'm going to put it down. I'm not saying that I'm never going to pick it back up again, because I love Purple Hibiscus by her, and I'm expecting that when I read this at the right time I am going to like it. But yeah, for now this is a DNF. But it's not a DNF because I hated it, it's just a DNF because it wasn't the right time to read it basically. So yeah. The second book on that list was The Light Between Oceans, and this is by M.L. Stedman. I did a buddy read of this with Lisa from Books and Spas, and we both absolutely loved this book. So this basically tells the story of a man who is a lighthouse keeper on this island off of the west coast of Australia, and he lives with his wife on this island, and one day this boat washes up on the shore, and in the boat is a dead man and a alive and kicking baby, and it's about what they decide to do with this baby. This was completely heartbreaking, especially towards the end, and I sobbed in the last couple of chapters. What I really liked about it as well is there were really engaging characters in here. They were really well fleshed out and developed. I was reading about a country that I'm really interested in anyway. I love anything to do with Australia, so from that perspective it was really good. It had some things running through it to do with post-traumatic stress disorder and World War II. I'm not sure, I think it might have been World War II, but I could be wrong about that. And also gave you this real insight into living in this really isolated place, cut off from everybody, and how that might influence the decisions that you make and the life that you lead. You know, and the difference between that kind of lifestyle and living back on the mainland, and that kind of idea was really well sort of weaved throughout this novel. Yeah, and it was absolutely fantastic. So this was a 5-star read for me, and I would definitely recommend this one. A book that I read in 2017, so I think I read this in December last year, was The Last Days of Cafe Layla, and this is by Donya Bajam. This was a book that was sent to me from Russell over at Ink and Paper blog. I won it in a giveaway of his on his YouTube channel, and it's signed. Yeah, there we go. And this basically is about a woman who is getting a divorce from her husband, and she was born in Iran, and she decides to go back to Iran to see her family because obviously she's getting this divorce and she doesn't really feel like she knows what's going on in her life and things like that, and she takes her teenage daughter with her, reluctantly on the part of the teenage daughter. Her family in Iran run a restaurant, and so when she gets back to Iran she kind of slips into sort of helping out with the running of this restaurant and things like that, and it's basically about, you know, her going back to her family and finding her roots again. Sounds a little bit cliche, but sort of discovering that part of her life again. And it's also, you know, about her sort of finding her way on from there. This was really good, really beautiful. Again, great characters in this, really memorable characters. I love the setting of this. I love the fact that you have the restaurant aspect to it. I love anything to do with food. So the sort of language that was used in here to describe the restaurant and the food and the house and the surroundings was really evocative, really, really beautifully told. And yeah, I love this, really, really loved it. This is her debut novel, I believe. She has a memoir out which I've got on my wish list, and I'm, yeah, really looking forward to reading that and anything else that she writes basically. So this was again a 5-star read. This next one was actually the first book that I finished in 2018, and it is Small Island by Andrea Levy. This was the winner of the Orange Prize for Fiction. Not sure what year, I don't know, but quite a few years ago now. This is basically a book about immigrants from Jamaica living in the UK after World War II. But it's not just about that, it's about their life in Jamaica before they came to the UK. It's about their experience of life during World War II, and then they move into the house of this white woman called Queenie, I think her name is, yeah. And it gives you a little bit of an insight into, well, a bit more of an insight into Queenie's life and how she got there and why she's living in this big house on her own. And you know, it's basically a novel that kind of shows you these characters in like a present day situation and then goes back and sort of shows you what happens in their past and how it's all contributed to it and stuff like that. I thought this was a little bit long, to be honest. It dragged in a few places. I did like the characters in this, and the storyline was compelling at times. Again, it was well written at times and kind of well plotted out, but it just didn't grab me as much as I wanted it to. Bearing in mind the important themes that are in here to do with immigration and racism and things to do with women's rights and that sort of thing, you know, really, really important themes in here. But like I said, it just didn't grab me the way that I was expecting it to. So a really good one, and I would recommend it, but I gave this one 4 stars. And then the last book that I put on that list was Gary Young's Another Day in the Death of America, 24 Hours, 8 States, 10 Young Lives Lost to Gun Violence. This is a non-fiction book where Gary Young picked a particular day, and in this case it's Saturday the 23rd of November 2013, and he looked into the lives of 10 young people that were involved in gun violence and died on that particular day due to gun violence. And each chapter is about a different young life that was lost. and each chapter, you would expect each chapter to perhaps follow the same sort of structure in terms of, you know, him finding out about this young life, the parents, I don't know, telling you what this young person was like, and finding out what happened and that sort of thing. It doesn't actually do that in every chapter. It deals with different things to do with guns and gun crime in the US, and I found it really fascinating, really interesting to read his perspective and other people's perspectives, especially in the States. I don't think we got to hear a lot of stuff from outside the States as far as I can remember. But yeah, a really well researched, thought-provoking book about gun crime, and obviously such an important and relevant topic at the moment. This is not really, I wouldn't say, it's not difficult to read or anything like that. It's not really a book that you can pick up and read cover to cover. I kind of did a chapter at a time, so I'd read a chapter, leave it a few days, and then read another chapter. I just think because it's one of those books where you need to absorb what's gone on in that particular chapter and think about it, and also give yourself a little bit of space before you dive into is the wrong phrase, but before you look at this next young life that was lost, because obviously it is so tragic and so sad. So yeah, I kind of took it like that, and I would say that's a good way of breaking it down for yourself. But this was really hyped on BookTube when it first came out, and I would say it's definitely worth the hype and a really important read for everybody, and this was another 5-star read for me. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is show you 5 more books that I've picked out that I think are also going to be 5 stars as my new 5-star prediction TBR. So yes, I'll show them to you now. The first one that I've picked out is Jamaica Inn by Daphne du Maurier. I've read 2 Daphne du Maurier books, Rebecca and My Cousin Rachel. I gave both of them 5 stars. I thought they were absolutely fantastic. Love her writing. So I bought this one, I think last month or the month before, and yeah, I just think I'm really going to like it again. This is about a woman who goes back to this inn called Jamaica Inn on the Cornish moors, which is the home of her aunt Patience. She finds Patience a changed woman, downtrodden by her domineering, vicious husband Joss. Mary discovers that the inn is a front for a lawless gang of criminals and is unwillingly dragged into their dangerous world of smuggling and murder. That sounds like a fascinating premise. I've read the opening to this book several times because it was an extract that they used for a GCSE that I teach at school, and I've always been intrigued to carry on, basically, having read the introduction so many times. So it's another one of her short ones. Yeah, obviously I think you would class this as a modern classic, but this is so compelling to read for me that, yeah, really looking forward to getting around to that one. Second one I've put on the list is A Place for Us, and this is by Fatima Farheen Mirza. I bought this again a couple of months ago. The fact that I bought it in hardback, I think, shows that I've been really excited about reading it, but I haven't picked it up yet. This is basically, I think, about, yeah, an Indian Muslim family preparing for their eldest daughter's wedding, and it's about, you know, can the estranged younger brother of the bride be trusted to behave themselves after 3 years away? And it's about the ins and outs of this family, basically. I am supposed to be doing a buddy read of this with one of my subscribers, and I've put it off for a little while, just because, like I've mentioned at the beginning of this video, I've been trying to avoid buddy reads. I don't know whether I will still do a buddy read of this. I have to kind of make up my mind on it, so I'll see about that. But I do think I'm really going to enjoy this, and lots of people have had really good things to say about it. So yeah, I'll see whether I like it too. For something completely different, I've gone with Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. I read Eleanor and Park earlier on this year and absolutely loved it, thought it was fantastic, gave it 5 stars. So I thought I would try something else of hers and see whether I have the same reaction. This, I believe, is one of her YA novels, whereas, is Eleanor and Park YA? I think it is YA as well. It follows that sort of age group of characters. I could be wrong. But this is about identical twins going off to college, and one of them writes fan fiction. And it's about the different paths that their lives take, basically. So it's a bit of a longer one than Eleanor and Park was, but her writing is really easy to read. So I'll see whether I like something else of hers. And then I picked out a couple of non-fiction books. I had one non-fiction book on my previous 5-star TBR, but I've been getting more and more into non-fiction lately. I just like finding stuff out, basically. So one that I've had for a while that I've put on the list is H is for Hawk by Helen Macdonald, and this is all about Helen's journey after her father died, with dealing with her grief. And one of the ways that she deals with it is to she brings up this hawk, this goshawk, from a chick all the way to an adult, and it's about her journey doing that. Yeah, it did. It was a Costa Book of the Year. Did it win it overall? I don't really know. But it has won prizes, and people have had fantastic things to say about it, including Olive from A Book Olive. So yeah, I think it's high time I get around to reading this. And the second non-fiction book that I've picked out is The Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. I've noticed that I really like non-fiction that is sort of memoir-esque. Yeah, and the premise for this one, the premise is not a story, but the idea behind this one kind of reminds me of Educated by Tara Westover, which I've read earlier on this month, and you won't have seen a wrap up of that yet. But this, I believe, is about a girl living in a family where she gets abused by her father, I think. So it's quite dark in that respect. Yeah, and again, I've heard really, really good things. This is like a US copy of it, so it's one of those really floppy ones. Quite short. I don't think it's going to take me too long to get through. So yeah. So there you go, guys. They are the 5 books that I've picked out for my next 5-star predictions TBR. Hopefully it takes me a lot less time to read these and wrap these up for you. I'm going to go for 6 months rather than 12, so let's aim for that. Yeah, so as always, guys, I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments below. Have you read any of these? What did you think of them? Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.